I'm Alex Berman, and you're watching Selling Breakdowns. Tim Ferriss is not a man you can easily define. You might know him as one of the main angel investors in technology, or perhaps you read one of his many best-selling self-help books. And let's not forget about his hugely popular podcast, The Tim Ferriss Show. However, whatever project Tim tackles, there are clear themes to how we approach any task, and the best way to understand this is by looking at the questions that he asks. Today, we're going to see how Tim Ferriss doesn't ask questions like most other interviewers, not just to his podcast guests, but to himself. This is how we can examine an idea or a process from every possible angle to find a way to improve it. Tim's real success started with BrainQUICKEN, an online supplements company which he had for 9 years before selling it off. But it was the process of running that company that gave Tim the experience to find new ways to look at productivity. He often calls himself a human guinea pig, and he drastically altered the way he worked over the years. This led to his pivotal book, The 4-Hour Workweek, which laid out his philosophy for how to cut all the time people waste throughout the working day. And he stayed pretty busy after that. He wrote follow-ups, he's an angel investor, he's dipped his toe into TV presenting, but it's his podcast that's brought him the widest audience, thanks to close to 100 million downloads. He has a fascinating range of guests, and the big selling point is that he manages to get insights that few interviewers are able to. Although he certainly has a natural charm, the key is in the type of questions that he asks. Let's quickly talk about questions. There are two basic categories of question: open and closed. A closed question only allows a yes or no response. We ask this type frequently, and a lot of the time we actually want more than a yes or no answer, but the information is limited. For example, did you have a good day? It's kind of weird to just answer yeah or no and then stop talking. Normally you'll elaborate, but nobody wants an essay as a response either. Open questions have multiple or infinite answers, but within these, there are other kinds. Factual questions are typically what, where, or who. They normally have a right or wrong answer as well. Then there are divergent and evaluative questions. These require critical thinking. Why did this happen? How did you do it? So what kind of questions do you think Tim Ferriss is going to ask? Well, he asks more of the last type, the ones that provide more thoughtful answers. He's not so interested in his guest's biography or the things you could easily read off a fact sheet. Tim wants insight into the choices that got them to the level of success that they're at. Of course, he still needs factual questions, since they keep the conversation flowing, but he makes guests evaluate choices and behavior far more than a regular host. This isn't just a feeling either. Thanks to the work of a site called transcripts.io, we've been able to go through the transcripts of some of his shows and see the actual data. Let's look at two interviews, both with actor Ed Norton. One is on Tim's podcast, where they talk for about an hour and 10 minutes. The other is from NPR, a show called Fresh Air with Terry Gross. They talked for about 35 minutes, but there were also quite a few clips from Norton's films peppered throughout, so really it's shorter. With Terry, Norton gets 4 what, where, who questions, and only 3 how questions, 0 why. On top of this, there are about 15 to 20 closed questions. You can hear it in Norton's responses. He replies yeah 9 times and 4 no's. But with Tim Ferriss, there are 22 what, where, who's, 7 hows and whys, and just 3 closed questions. In the entire interview, Norton replies yeah, yes, or no just 3 times, 1 of each. Just think about that for a second. Think about sitting down and talking to someone for an hour and only replying yes or no 3 times. That would hardly ever happen, right? And if you think this could just be a coincidence, we checked another guest. When legendary record producer Rick Rubin talks to Tim, he answers yeah or yes about 7 or 8 times and 2 no's. But on another interview with Ben Greenfield on his fitness podcast, that number jumps up to over 20 yeahs and yeses, as well as 5 no's. It's not a criticism for the other interviewers. They have a different purpose than Tim, a different goal for their questions. But Tim knows the real insight comes when he makes people really think about their answers. And if you look at when Tim has interviewed himself, you see exactly why he adopts this tactic. The only way he was able to innovate was by asking better questions. Just listen.
In your business, in your life, it's you get there by improving your thinking, and the shortest way to get to better thinking is by asking better questions. And so if people listen to a couple of my podcasts, they're going to start to recognize recurring questions, right?
What kind of questions, Tim?
It's those types of questions, though, that force you to look for the non-obvious answers.
And his favorite kind of question is a seemingly absurd question. He's even said that this is one of the main similarities among the outstanding performers in all fields.
The biggest commonality is asking absurd questions.
But why? What's the point of them? Well,
So these absurd questions often produce breakthrough answers or brainstorm sessions because you can't use the constraints or the assumptions that you normally do.
so for example, these are some of the questions he's talking about, which are either his own or those of people he admires.
Why can't you accomplish your 10-year plan in the next 6 months? And if you talk to, say, Peter Diamandis, chairman of the X Prize, he might ask the founders of companies he's looking at as potential investments, if you had to 10x the economics of your startup in the next in the period of time, 6 months, 3 months, how would you do it?
So now you see why he has this whole approach to questioning. The only way you're going to find new solutions to existing problems is by thinking about them in a different way than before. Tim Ferriss isn't going to be asking these absurd questions at every step, but even with his so-called regular questions, he's always looking for a better answer. From the guest and from himself. Let me know in the comments, what's an absurd question you've been asked? And what was your response? Want to learn more about business theory and history? Be sure to like and subscribe to be notified of our next segment.